So something I have been wanting to do with this channel is have a kind of discussion show or talk show, but that sounds a bit extravagant. Basically just have videos of me chatting to different musicians I know, and just asking them questions about how music fits into their life and what it is to them. The first person I've interviewed for this show or video series is a guy called Caleb, who is an incredible musician and a friend of mine. He's over from the States studying a master's in kind of, I guess, experimental sound. He explains it a bit in the video anyway, but he's studying in UCC. And yeah, he's a really cool guy. The interview or discussion went on much longer than I was expecting, so I'm probably going to release this in 3 parts. So this first part of the discussion that will be going up is just a bit of background into Caleb and his musical career, I guess, some of the things he's done, what he's doing at the moment. If you enjoy it, please share it with other people that you might think will enjoy it too. Okay, so I suppose start by telling us a bit about who you are and where you're from.
Well, my name's Caleb, and I am from East Tennessee. I am a professional jazz musician by trade. I mean that I've been playing trumpet for like 19 years now. So I started in just standard American band programs, and then so I started playing trumpet at 11. So I started the whole like classical music genre, and I didn't really get into jazz though until maybe my senior year of high school. So I guess when I was your age.
Okay.
I didn't.
Cool.
So it was about there, and then I was very bad at it for a long time. But I mean that's the case with anything in music because everything's a skill, right?
Yeah.
So and then I did classical stuff and jazz. I did both in college, and I got my degree in music business. So it was like a contemporary kind of performance degree. So I did a classical recital 1 year, and then I did a jazz recital, and then my friend Josh, who's Bass Videos, we did like a joint thing where we both wrote a bunch of stuff, and then we performed that, and then we recorded a because my major was a music business, I had to do a recording project. So my cousin has a studio in Nashville, so I went and did that there, and we recorded the things we did on that concert. So but I mean that's just kind of going back to where kind of how I got started in like the whole jazz thing, because I played in the big band at school, and then really started to fall in love with that whole aspect because with the freedom of improvisation and all this other stuff, and then getting into the theory aspect of jazz and how much more dense it is. And that's why I liked the classical that umbrella term, because there's no classical composers I actually enjoy, because Mozart's garbage.
Whoa, controversial.
Yeah. But I mean, so I'll say classic music because that sums it up better, because classical is that period where Mozart and all those people were. But like people like Bartok and Lily Boulanger, like all those kinds of people who are using really dense, more, like thick harmonies where they're using a lot of extensions and stuff. And then that's why I like jazz, because there's just so much going on, like layers and stuff. And then, so I did that after I graduated in 2011. So how old are you then?
11. I would have been 11.
Oh, you were born in 2000.
Yeah, it's easy.
Oh my God, you're so young. But so that's when I graduated with my bachelor's, and then after that, for years I played in different big bands at home, like different swing bands, and then all kinds of different like rock, funk groups, other jazz bands, just doing all that. And I was teaching, working as a composer, like writing. The thing I did for a long time was write marching band shows for high schools,
cool.
Which is really fun. So I was just like running the gambit for like 6-7 years, and then I started to go. I went back to Lee they got a new trumpet professor a few years ago, and he's great, killer dude, young guy from New York. Well, he lived in New York. He's from like Indiana, but he lived in New York for like 15-20 years. So he came down, and I met him a few years before, before he even got hired, I think. And then so we became friends. And then I was like, sure, if I want to go get a master's, I might as well go and hang out with somebody I enjoy to be around, you know. But so I went back, and then I did that. It was, I mean, this time last year I did 2 semesters, so I have half of that degree finished, which is so annoying. But and then I think it was about January last year when I started looking at different programs, though. And then me and one of my friends were looking at taking a trip here, Ireland, and just because we had never been, and we were like, let's go either in March. We were like, let's just go in the spring or in the fall where it won't be very expensive, because that's when plane tickets were cheapest. And we were gonna plan on renting a car or whatever. And I was like, well, since I'm looking at programs in the States, I was like, I might as well see if there's any composition or whatever programs anywhere in Ireland, because that'd be fun, you know. And then I found the program that I'm doing now at UCC, which just started started in the fall, in 2018, and.
And what's that program
Experimental
called?
sound practice.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's all kinds of fun stuff. And then
Lots of noises.
Yeah, lots of noises, lots of building, lots of hands-on stuff. So like building expanded instrument systems, and it does deal with like experimental music and new music philosophies and like that kind of stuff. Like so, John Cage and Forward, Lamont Young, all that fun stuff, and which is killer. It's very fun and not a lot of people's cup of tea. But it's not even that. It's not one of those things that you do to listen to it because it's enjoyable to listen to a car horn, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Which is what a lot of people kind of think it is, but it's one of those things that's just understanding that all this stuff can be used for sound and for music, and limiting yourself to 12 tones that we decided we like these particular frequencies is very, very limiting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that sums it up. I mean, from Tennessee, now here doing a master's, only here for 3 more weeks, barely. And then I will be going back to work on my portfolio, and then gig and teach and do all the fun things again.
See what happens, yeah.
I know.
That sounds cool. So we'll come back to that experimental music stuff, but just another thing just about kind of your origins in music, I guess.
Might not be by a spider.
Is there like a particular person or like just someone who kind of introduced you to music or just a moment where you're like, I want to play music? Or was it just kind of...
It kind of just happened because, like I said, I joined band when I was 11. I mean, my family was like kind of musical. My mom sang a lot in church and everything. My dad played guitar a little, but nothing serious for either of them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, and I'd always like enjoy going to church and stuff. My favorite part was just listening to music, mainly because I was little and that was actually stuff that was happening. I didn't want to listen to some old band yell at me. But still, I mean, I do remember that. But I mean, after I joined band, I mean, I really looked up to the band director because he was also a killer trumpet player who I've done gigs with since then in my professional life, which is hilarious.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is really fun. But he's like straight up like a classical trumpet player. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like no one will play Baroque trumpet better than he. You know what I mean? He's like one of those dudes. He's all about that kind of stuff. But I mean, I guess he was like the first person I was like, oh, this is super cool guy, and I loved doing marching band for 5 years. I started doing that in 8th grade, and then did it all the way through high school. So I did that for a long time, and then I guess it was just one of those things. He was the biggest influence, I think, at that I guess that's really early formative years. But so I went to college, and then Alan Wyatt he has been the biggest influence. I mean, I would attribute that man, everything I know about music, to him. You know what I mean? Like, obviously he was not the sole reason I got my first degree. You know? But I mean, like, anything that is like practical that I use every day in my music life, like either the way I think about music, the things that I enjoy talking about harmonically, whatever, the things I like to dive into with music, all kind of came from hanging around him, taking lessons from him, and all this other stuff. So he's a saxophone player, so I had to learn.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So all the stuff that I learned from jazz though was from the perspective of a saxophone player. So he didn't care that I was playing trumpet because he's like, well, I want you to learn this lick. I'm like, but it's so hard on trumpet. He's like, so? I was like, okay, well, screw it, fine, I'll do it. You know. So that was fun. But so he absolutely, and so I mean, yeah, he's absolutely been the person who has been the most formative. I mean, because I talk to him all the time. I talked to him a few days ago. You know, I mean, when I was working on my other master's degree, I was living with him. You know, we're best buddies, so it's precious. So he's been the person who's I would say done the most. And my friend Josh, the bass player, me and him were we went through the same school program and everything.
That's cool.
So me and him would have joint lessons with Alan and everything. So
that's fun.
Yeah, it's killer. So you know, you hear about like those old school like mentor, mentee, apprentice, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely what it is. I mean, and will be. I mean, and I'm not saying like I am on a peer-to-peer level with him.
Yeah.
But he has hired me as a professional musician now, like for years, to like, because I work at faculty at this jazz camp that he runs, and he hires me to do gigs or to sub for him on gigs when it's like a quintet kind of or a quartet kind of gig. I mean, obviously, since he's in a big band, I can't sub for second tenor.
Yeah.
but do you know what I mean? Like, so it's those kinds of things. So I mean, it's definitely at the point where I'm just as serious as an artist as he is. But I mean, we still will hang out and talk about all kinds of stuff, and
That's cool.
and you know, it's got to the point where he will ask me about things. You know, it's like it's a give and take. But I guess that's just how those mentor-mentee relationships get after a point. You know, it's no longer like professor-student. Like there's distance there. It's like we use each other to grow and like, you know, now I'll constantly send him recordings, and then he'll send me stuff, and it's just. So I mean, absolutely.
Nearly knocked everything off.
He absolutely is the person I think that has, shaped the most. Do you know what I mean? And allowed for the shaping, because he never wanted me to be like a mini Alan or Josh or anybody. He was like, he was just like, this is what I know. This is how I know it. This is what thinking about these things has allowed me to do, and I know it'll do it for you because knowledge is just. You know, it's like truth kind of a thing. It's like, so use this to understand music the way and it's just the way he thinks about it, which is so much easier than a lot of like the way classical theory and everything works. So yeah, Alan, absolutely.
That's cool.
That's a ridiculously long answer to that question, but
Still an answer.
Yeah.